Yeah. Come on. Welcome.
Good evening. Sean Hicks coming at you here. Late Night Money. Likes for Aberdeen the Bell. Picks parlays. Winner free picks. Twitter, Mr. Sean Hicks. Give it a follow. And description, you got it covered. You want to listen to the podcast after the fact, you can do that. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a short show. I can't. This is my entire 2 months basketball season of going up in flames, just highlighted right there in that Gonzaga ending. 4.5. You freaking kidding me? I pull out a miracle on the over on the video here for the free picks, and Gonzaga goes down with 0.7 of a second. What are we doing in video today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. 6 wins. 1, 2. We had Eastern Kentucky, Whiskey 2, Eastern Washington 3, Oregon 4, Utah Valley 5, Zags over 6. We dropped Pitt money line, Marquette Stetson, that's 3, Oregon over 4, and the Zags 5. 6 and 5 in the video. 6 and 5, 261 and 273. And that'll be a loser of 46-10. Terrible ending to what was a great start to college basketball, but what are we going to do? We got comments. We'll hit the comments and we'll hit the show. T-Money, thank God UConn won, and you didn't put the kibosh on it with your tournament lock of the year. Needed that one. Locking in with the Kings here. King D goes 1-7, hit a monster and lost everything else. Gotta love it. I get it. I get it, T-Money. I had the UConn. I was hoping that UConn came in. Moneyline Markel's in the house. T-Money, TCU 3. Gotta love it. You got TCU plus 3? Well, at least you got a push out of that one, I guess. Right? That ended up as a push with that last second shot. Unbelievable. King D. We have baseball today. I know. It's a, King, with the way basketball, that is just the, I've just found every which way to lose with college basketball the last 2 months. 43-87, January 17th, with these games like this. Unbelievable. Zags play that crap. TC found a way to miss 90% of the free throws. Reeves almost dropped to 40 piece. Please tell. I can't even. We had Gonzaga here, Mark. What are you talking about? I just opened the show with that. Again, I'm going to just rush through these. I don't want to talk. I'm going to bash someone's head in. Negan style. 2-1 day. 7-unit win on Milwaukee CBI. Nice win on Milwaukee and CBI. I had some CBI winners today. I had Eastern Kentucky and the North Texas over. And then the NIT, I swept the board in the small tournaments. Eastern Washington, Oregon, Utah Valley, Eastern Kentucky, North Texas over 5-0. And then in the with this, we just went down in flames here. The nice 2-2 during the day and 0-3 at night. Wonderful. TCU money line. It was a terrible game to watch. That terrible. He had a shot. Moneyline Markel with a shot. Yeah. Unbelievable. All right. If you're on Twitter, I tweeted out some games for Monday and Sweet 16 picks. We'll get to them in a minute. Let's run through everything right now. Let's go with tomorrow's action here in college basketball as we wait for this Gonzaga line to pop up. Early action, Indiana State and Eastern Kentucky. I bet the under here. I got the under myself. And I got a 154 clip. I see 153s and a halves. Southern Utah. I gave a pick in every game. There's 4 of them. Got to give them all out. Southern Utah -6. San Jose over to 128. And Milwaukee plus a 6. I grabbed myself. There is that. Now heading to the Sweet 16. And here we go. We have a lineup here. UCLA Gonzaga. It is UCLA 1 and a 145.5. We'll put that. Where's my UCLA 1, 145.5. I write down all the opening numbers here. We'll see. You know, I don't know about this one here. I want to take UCLA. I think I'm going to take UCLA here at a one spot. I don't know. I'm not sure. The UCLA injury bug concerns me there. A little worried about that. That would be my um, hesitation, I guess. All right, let's get to these. I'm not adding that in right now as we speak. But here we go. Michigan State. Pick 'em. 137.5 K State. Arkansas was a 4 and a 139.5. Again, some of these have been added already. We could add more of these as we go through. San Diego State +5. This is obviously raised up since this number 135. It's 5. I got 7 now out here. Xavier is a +4.5 versus Texas. Total 147. Princeton +10 versus Creighton. And again, not in the chat here. So Bama, Texas, K-State, UConn. UConn is a 4 and a 141. I don't think I have that one in the chat as well. I apologize for that. Again, they came up a little later in the show or later in the day as as I was putting me in here. So there is that. Just why some of them aren't posted here. UConn, Arkansas, Houston. Again, I don't think I have the Houston game in here as well. Again, that was a late addition by the time the games were over, and I'm adding them here. Against Miami, that is a 7 and 138. Your Tennessee Volunteers are a 5.5 and a 131 over Florida Atlantic. Creighton game, again, we got them already, and the UCLA Gonzaga game just posted with UCLA as a 1-point fave. So these are my Sweet 16 picks, and they're both scrolling instead of one popping up here. I don't want to do that. Okay, so Sweet 16, again, they're all out on Twitter as well. I like UConn, San Diego State, Texas, K-State, Princeton, Tennessee under, Miami. And let's be honest, I'm going to add UCLA to this little match here while we're up. I'm going to go UCLA -1. There you go. There you go. We're added to UCLA in there. Adding a little UCLA action. There are the picks. Let's run through these comments because I just want to bash my head against the wall. Mark, where are you? King D, TCU, Markel. King D, tough slate tomorrow. Lines are sharp. CBI. Yeah, these CBI lines. What do we got here? We got Indiana State as a 5.5, 153 over EKU. I mean, and again, both of these teams, Indiana State 22 and 12 ATS on the season, EKU 20 and 10 for Eastern Kentucky against the spread. Not too shabby. Would I lean a little dog there, 5.5? Sure. No, I'd like a 6 if I could get it. We'll see what happens in the morning there. Southern Utah and Rice. Southern Utah is a 6, a 162. Actually, a 6.5 now. Rice 21 and 10 to the over this year. So there is that. If you want to look at an overplay there, I mean 162 is a big number. San Jose and Radford a 6.5 and a 128. Again, you have a San Jose team 22 and 11 against the spread this year. Radford 17 and 14. Now, if you want to run a little San Jose, I don't hate it. Better conference. Although we saw the Mountain West kind of not really show up with the exception of the Aztecs. And Charlotte here against Milwaukee. I'm going to like the Milwaukee in a 6 here. It's just that's it. I like Milwaukee. Wednesday, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma State. I was waiting for lines on that. I didn't see any of those pop up yet for some NIT lines. Not sure what they're waiting for on those games, but probably should have them tomorrow. Wayne's coming in with a broken heart. I'm sure. What'd you have there, bud? What? Heartbreaker? Arkansas is 35 to 1 to win it all. You want to take a flyer on Arkansas? I mean, why? I'm not going to hate it. Groovy. You knocked off Kansas. You got UConn. Little dog there. And you're going to have a Gonzaga UCLA squad coming up who are, I think, will be beatable. Look at this guy coming in.
What a weekend, huh?
I mean, seriously.
I mean, I didn't cash many bets, but what?
I told you on the phone today. It was I said I'm going to talk for 5 minutes. The Gonzaga game is just the icing on my whipped cream of poop sandwich. It's just.
I thought because it was 9-1 handicappers on Gonzaga, and they fouled with 0.7. I was like, I was on the wrong side of that with College of Charleston, so I was like, man, this is going to be a big win. And then they let the guy roll it all the way to half court, to 35, 40 feet.
Like, what are they doing? Don't you want the game to end? D up on the guy so they throw it into this crazy shot.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the three the guy hit in the corner was ridiculous too. Ridiculous. And then the foul with 0.7, and then you think you have it, and I did have that game. I had a parlay or a teaser. I had TCU, which they would have covered either way. That shot didn't matter. And I liked FDU. I just thought Fairleigh Dickinson was just like it was. I thought they could keep it within single digits, and that was 14.5. Was crazy.
It was. It was 12. It went up to 15 and a half some spots.
Yeah, it obviously. I mean, FAU played really good, and FDU still had them down with 5-6 minutes to go. I mean, that was maybe the game of the night. I mean, it was very close game.
We've had a good tournament, a lot of good games. We had some upsets, but even the other games we haven't really had a crazy, not interesting games. I mean, Alabama has some blowouts that are pretty good, but they're competitive for at least a half, and then things kind of take off in even those games. Solid first weekend. You gotta like it.
This, as I said, I think it was in January, maybe. It was right when conference season kind of got really going. I said this is going to be an absolute Nets tournament because you think the Big 12 is really strong. Well, how's it look now? Not as strong because they were all just beating up on each other, and they were giving everybody credit for beating up on each other.
Yeah.
And then the Big East. I mean, you got Xavier, you got UConn. Both of them were really good. I mean, Marquette had a chance to beat. They could have had 3 teams.
No, they do. You got Creighton in there too. Creighton's there.
Yeah, Creighton and UConn, and they could have had 4. Could have had a quarter of the. And then we got ACC with just 1, right? Miami.
That's it.
So.
And that's again, Miami disrespected all season. Nobody gave them a shot. Duke, see
the size thing is what Miami plays basically 4 guards, and it when Duke beat them in the tournament, it was because they pounded them. If they have to play Gonzaga, that's going to be a problem.
Miami,
yeah.
Oh yeah, well they got to get past. I mean, I like them with the points against Houston. I'll take the points against Houston.
Yeah, Houston's not big. Houston kind of plays the same sort of style. They play a lot of guards, and 7 points is crazy. With a banged up Houston team, I mean, I granted they'll have time to, hopefully heal up. But I think 10 for Princeton. Creighton. I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Creighton's a young
7 too. I mean, I haven't seen the Xavier Texas line yet. Have you?
Yeah, Texas is 4.
Wow, that's a really good Xavier team. Really good.
That's your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm a Bearcat fan, so I hate Xavier. Liked them today though. They're awesome on offense. I mean, awesome on offense.
Yeah.
They really Sean Miller. I know the DeAndre Ayton cheating scandal and all that. So it's kind of
Whatever. Everybody does that, though. I mean,
now it's legal, so it's like the tarnish is off of him a little bit, but the dude can coach. Everywhere he's ever been, he's won.
Yeah.
Second time around at Xavier. So like awesome story for Xavier and a very experienced team. You know what I mean? Texas too. That's going to be like between those two teams, they have like 14 seniors or something stupid.
Yeah. Not at Texas. Good season for them after the whole thing with their coach. Nice story. I mean, this guy going to get the gig? Did he get the gig full time? The coach?
Now I had heard Andy Katz, I think, talk that they were going to give him the gig either way. But it was going to be more incentive, like, hey, we're not going to pay you these ridiculous salaries. They're going to be more incentive-laden contract. I don't even think that's a question now. I think he'll get the thing. The problem is, like I said, both Xavier and Texas got tons of seniors. So, next year, he ain't going to be nearly as good because all these guys are going to be leaving.
Yeah, well.
So, now Texas has a lot of money, so I'm sure they'll get a lot in the NIL.
That's the thing. You get good freshmen, you're all right.
So what does this guy say that Rick Pitino's going to St. John's? I don't think that's a done deal yet.
I'm pretty sure he's going to St. John's. Let's see. Let's go.
I heard he's going to take a visit at St. John's and Georgetown.
They said Cooley's going to Georgetown.
Well, then could he go back to Providence for the second time? Remember, that's where he started.
Who, Pitino? Nah. I mean, listen, I'm a St. John's guy.
Since he doesn't have to move. Like, where he lives
St.
now
John's,
is only 25.
What are you doing, St. John's? The campus is terrible. What are you doing, St. John's? There's no money there. How are you getting guys there? Because you're Rick Pitino?
Yeah, because he'll be able to pay them. It's legal now.
Out of what? Out of his pocket? Who's digging into the pocket for St. John's?
He's got big money guys that back him. Whatever he says, if he goes to St. John's, they'll be, it's New York City. They have big time money there. They'll get big boosters. They'll have good teams. They'll play most of their, they play all their primetime games, all the big games at Madison Square Garden.
No, I know. So, listen, I'd love to see you go back to the good old days.
I'd love to see him go to Georgetown, to be honest, because it sucks that Georgetown is so down. At least Anderson, like St. John's was plus 500. Georgetown is, they are in some.
Is it that they're just not getting the players? Listen, you bring in Patrick Ewing, St. John's brought in Mullen, you bring in ex-players. Are they good coaches? Are you just not getting good recruits? What is the problem?
Well, I think it's a combination. Obviously, you can't win without recruits. Their problem, I think, is Maryland. They're in the Washington, D.C. area, obviously. They recruit against Maryland. And Maryland has deep pockets now that they're in the Big Ten. They have a lot of money there. So, if you're getting a local kid, you're probably getting the second tier. And then you still got to be able to recruit nationwide now. And it's like, I don't think Georgetown, and to be honest, the Big East. I think it's much tougher in the Big East now. It's not, even though they're doing well in this year's tournament, I think the new Big East is much tougher to recruit for.
No, they got to bring back Syracuse or something. This is,
Well, Syracuse can't leave. They're in until
they're locked into the ACC. I'm going to say listen, the old Big East was just a great conference. Yeah, and
then when they redid it and they had Cincinnati and Louisville, it was the most unbelievable college basketball tournament every year because you had to win 6 days in a row. Remember the year Syracuse won 6 in a row? Johnny Flynn year.
That was an overtime, crazy overtime.
Five overtimes or something. So to me, I think that's what we need back. And Georgetown has to be good. St. John's too, obviously, but I think St. John's could win without just Rick Pitino. They haven't, but I think they could.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They haven't in a long time. When's the last time they were good? Early 2000s? With Lamar Odom? No, with Lamar Odom. Ron Artest?
I don't know. The thing is, Anderson had decent teams, but they never were tournament teams. It's like they were just that next, NIT type or CBI. And if you're that's just not any good anymore. That's not good enough.
Come on.
Let's remember, Xavier fired their coach last year. That coach now is at Miami, Travis Steele. They fired him right before the NIT. They go on to win the NIT tournament, and it's basically the same team with one transfer, basically, that Sean Miller's got. So it's sometimes guys are a little, but I don't think that's the case with Georgetown.
No.
I don't they've won 1 or 2 Big East games in 4 years or 3 years or something.
They're terrible. They lost to Coppin State at home, I think, this year.
All right, so let's talk tournament though. I had to jump on because Michigan State, Kansas State, those teams are literally identical type teams. I mean, carbon copies. Good guard play, good defense. Guys that can. The one thing is Michigan State doesn't shoot well. What did they shoot? 2 for 16 today, or from 3 and win? That's usually you shoot 2 for 16, you lose.
You got a good coach in that, Joe, Michigan State. I mean, Izzo's really good.
Marquette just played terrible, though. I mean, they got up 1 or 2, and then they turned it over 4 of the next 6 possessions. Like, that was the game. Like, you couldn't do that. I love Shaka Smart, what he did at VCU, but since he left VCU, at Texas, he had ridiculous talent, couldn't win.
It was terrible. Yeah.
He's got 2 pros on that Marquette team now. They go win the Big East tournament, and then, frankly, this is not the best Michigan State team. And they had him up, and then just, and he didn't call timeout. It was just, ugh.
Well, I mean, you shoot 38%. I'm pulling up the game. I mean, 38% from the field. You're not going to win many games.
How many turnovers, too?
16 turnovers.
And
they only had Michigan State
on a lower possession type game. When you play Michigan State, you don't get as many possessions.
Yeah.
And 16 is like more like 20 in normal games.
Michigan State couldn't sink a 3 to a 16, but they were 44% from the field, and they hit all their free throws. Here you go, 19 to 23 from the line. There's the difference.
Here, what they did, what I saw early, especially, it's like they were closing out the Michigan State 3-point line. It's like, I've watched them play so many times this year. Michigan State can't shoot. You want them to shoot threes. If they beat you shooting threes, your hand in your face, you say, congrats, you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
They, were giving up layups, and then they had to fight back. And so to me, I think that's good. That's an interesting game just because they're literally identical type teams. Kansas State, Noel, the guard, is ridiculous.
Please, I had Kentucky today. Are you kidding me with that game?
What's he, 5'6"? Just like scoring against Kentucky's ridiculous athleticism. I mean, it was. They didn't shoot well until the last 5 minutes of the game, and then they went 6 for 8 or 5 for 7 or something.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Kentucky's kind of pulling away. Next thing I know, it's a miss, and then this guy's just heaving up 3-pointers, hitting 3-pointers. I'm like, what is happening here?
Kentucky's the last few years, it's the same story. They don't have good guard play. They definitely don't shoot the ball well from 3. You cannot just win with the best athletes in college basketball.
That's the way. I mean, Calipari can't. I mean, he's a terrible coach. It's easy when you have 6 NBA guys on your roster and you could outplay people. But in a close game, you see what happens. They choke.
Shooters. I don't understand why he doesn't. He did there for a little while. He had Devin Booker. He had Murray. He had Ulis. I mean, he had a lot of good guard play. And then the last 4, 5, 6 years, his guard play, they're not shooters. They're drive and dish guys. You got to have guys that can shoot threes. I'm not saying every guy, but you have to have a couple. They don't have.
Exactly. They don't even have a guy come off the bench to shoot threes.
No. So that's an interesting game. This Arkansas UConn game, I always try to set my own lines and then see where the lines would be, and then play kind of the difference. I thought UConn would be 6-point favorite here. Because I think Arkansas, they don't shoot the ball well. They don't shoot the ball well. They kind of grind you down. They play kind of like Michigan State defense. So that's interesting. I mean, UConn is loaded. I mean, they're loaded. They have 8, 9 guys that can absolutely play hoops. So that's an interesting game. At 4, I kind of think you got to take UConn. If it gets into that 5.5, 6, then I think you could get to this. And obviously, these lines are going to move a little bit. Yeah. And then FAU.
There you go. I was just loading that up for you.
FAU Tennessee -6. Didn't you not think that that Tennessee would be? I was thinking 6.5, 7, 7.5 because I mean Tennessee's defense is elite. I know they're missing their point guard, but that one kind of was surprising. UCLA, what was that one?
It's 1. UCLA's -1 against Gonzaga. I like UCLA.
That not having the defensive player of the year. Now, granted, Gonzaga he wasn't going to guard Timmy, so that's it's not.
I like the coach though. I like the coach. You should know it's your boy out there.
I hate Mick Cronin.
I know you do, but
I actually worked for him for one summer. I worked for Bob Huggins basketball camp where I played basketball in college, and he came in the last year I was there. He's just a prick. I mean, you can tell on the sun. The guy thinks. He's got the Napoleon syndrome,
it's definitely little man disease.
And he thinks he's I don't know, Tom Cruise or something with women, and it's his ego is something else. And then at Cincinnati, was the same kind of thing. He would like complain about fans not coming to games and stuff. It's like, dude, you play the most boring style of basketball.
Yeah, it was definitely a miserable basketball. Nobody wants to see 57, 52.
Right. And it's it was one thing when he was in the Big East and you're winning, you're playing ridiculous schedule when they had that
Yeah.
the good Big East. Well, then when you went to the American, you got to play a more exciting style of basketball because you're only playing 2 or 3 ranked teams all year. So what was the next one after that one?
After UCLA, we'll go to Friday's games. These are the Friday, and I'm just adding
That UCLA game. That could be an amazing game because Gonzaga wants to run, UCLA wants to play slow. How's it gonna? Like UCLA played a team 3 times that played like Gonzaga, named Arizona. They beat them 2 of the 3 times. The one time they did lose, they had a chance to beat them at the buzzer in the Pac-12 championship game. And then Friday is.
Here comes the Friday. I'm just adding the one other game that I didn't have in the ticker. It was waiting for the lines to come up. These are the Friday games. Well, 3 of them. I got the 4th and the banner going up. But San Diego State against Alabama, and that line's wrong now. That line is a 7 now.
7?
It's 7.
Well, I like San Diego State. That.
Yeah.
San Diego State is the most physical. This game will be won by the referees, how they decide to call it. If they let San Diego State play like the way they did the first 2 games where they can basically just, it was like watching the old NBA where you could just ride guys. That's the way San Diego State plays. I mean, they are physical.
Yep.
And if you let them play that way, they have a chance to beat Alabama because Alabama's a little bit of I won't say softer team, but they're, they're super talented. So they don't.
Yeah, but they're not. They don't play. SEC doesn't play physical ball like that. I mean, right. Tennessee does, and you see how
Yeah, they beat them once. So to me, I think that'll be one that you pretty much need to handicap how you think the game's going to be called. If you think the game's going to be called touch, Alabama will blow them out because
that'll be
if it gets in the 70s, they'll lose. And then the Xavier
against Texas.
I'm telling you, man. I think this all senior starting lineups. I mean, it's like
that's a 4 now too. It's not 4.5. Came down to 4.
4 down, huh? Wow.
Yeah. It's a 4 147.5.
I think you might take Xavier money line. I kind of feel like either Texas is going to blow them out or Xavier's going to win outright, and I think Xavier can beat them.
That's a plus 160 right now. You can get it.
Texas doesn't have the biggest lineup, and that big guy for Xavier, what's his name? Freemuth or something like that, I believe. Oh, that might be the guy that's out. I can't remember. But anyway,
he's at that guy.
That 7-footer they have is ridiculous. He can shoot from outside. He's good on defense. If he stays out of foul trouble, the Xavier, they only play 7 players. They played 7 players both games until they put the scrubs in. I think at the last 20 seconds or whatever. So Xavier plays 7 players in both games. Texas is the deeper team, so foul trouble could be an issue there. And then this last one are we missing one?
Yeah, I had to hit that late. That one, that was the later game. I got it. But the Princeton Creighton, I like Princeton with the 10.
A ton of points.
Because Creighton, as good as Creighton is, they're still a young team. I could see them doing something stupid.
Here's the problem they're not young though. They have the senior transfer guard.
Yeah,
but that's the only really shooter. They have the big kids. They have tons of experience. The point guard is a 5th-year senior, I believe.
Is he really? All right.
I
thought they were more sophomores. Some of the talent. Maybe I'm thinking the talented kid is the sophomore.
McDermott does a good job coaching, but I always he's never kind of got to that next step. So maybe this is probably his best team, maybe since his son was there, and they were really good when he was there, when he was Player of the Year. But you're not getting a lot of possessions against Princeton. I mean. I don't know how many possessions they had. They had a lot of possessions. Baylor loves to shoot the ball and shoot it fast. You're not getting that. And Baylor was really small. Princeton's actually a little more athletic and a little bigger than you would expect from an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
And then Miami, Houston is just –
this is again a 7.
I mean, Miami is – they're the NIT – Jim Boeheim talked about – Pitt and Miami buying teams. Miami is I think number 1 NIL paid team.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a reason, these dudes could play. They got 2 or 3.
Hold on. I knew Creighton was young guys because Niebold, Alexander, and Klumar are all sophomores. I knew they were kind of young.
But he's a redshirt sophomore because he blew his knee out.
All right.
I mean,
I'm
he
just saying.
started.
I was like, wait a sec. I know these guys are sophomores.
But the Cleaver or the big kid's what? A
Yeah,
junior?
he's a senior. He's a senior.
Senior? And then the guard that hit the big shot in the game, the first game, he's a fifth-year senior transfer, or fourth-year transfer. One of the bought players.
But with this game here, let's go back to this game. I mean, like, I like Houston, defensive, good. I mean, a 7. Are they just begging you to take the Canes here?
But don't you think this is because people just look at the final score? If you watch, Auburn was up 10 at half at Houston, and then Auburn decided they just decided they were going to just chuck shots up, and they went like 8 possessions. It was one pass and a shot or a turnover, and the kid from Houston, the 2 guards were out in foul trouble, and the other kid just went off. And what's his name? The coach at Auburn.
Bruce Pearl?
Bruce Pearl is just – I love him because he's resurrected Auburn. He resurrected Tennessee. Like, the guy can get players to play for him, but it's like he's not a guy that you think is a great X and O coach.
No, definitely not. I mean, but
Jim Larrañaga is maybe the best X and O guy, like, ever. Like, look how many wins he has at North Carolina, at Duke. I mean, on the road in the ACC as underdog. And
just even on the road. How many teams just lose on the road this year?
It was in the Final Four last year, right?
Miami was? I don't remember.
It was Miami, Duke, and North Carolina all in the Final Four last year with Kansas, I believe. Either that or they were in the Elite 8.
Elite 8, yeah.
So this is a team that has a lot of experience in the tournament, and I don't know. I think this Houston team is really good, but it's basically the same type of team of Miami.
That's why it comes down to
a lot of points.
This looks like again, I'm going to take Miami. I'm going to be like, you know what? If Houston by 10, whatever, I got to take the 7.
Houston's probably the better defensive team. So if it comes down to it, Houston's they can really lock you down, but Miami has the athletes to be able to break you down one-on-one when, because a lot of times, a great offense beats a good defense. That's just facts, and especially the way they call games now. And Miami has 3 dudes that can take you at pretty much any time late in the shot clock. I like that. I like that a lot. I like guard play. They both have really good guards, so this might be the best game. Maybe that Xavier Texas game and this game probably as far as to me as even as games get, which is why I think 7s. It seems like it's crazy.
Yeah, this game, I'm going to say the Arkansas UConn game definitely interests me a little bit as well.
Because
Arkansas is one of those teams they have a weird kind of.
Yeah, Council's a great player. They just don't shoot the ball well. Like I lost. It might have been the last regular season. I think it was senior night for them. I played Arkansas, and they were at home on senior night. They got beat by, I forget who.
Kentucky.
Was it Kentucky? And they could not make a shot. I mean,
by 11.
It was the ugliest shooting game I've ever seen. And then I started looking back because I was like, dude, why did I play Arkansas? I looked back, and they are just not a good three-point shooting.
They shot 36% in that game, and they still scored 79 points.
Yeah. That tells you how bad Kentucky's defense is. I mean, Kentucky is just
well, they're gone. So frustrating. Kentucky.
It's so frustrating to watch Kentucky. I'm glad I'm not a Kentucky fan. My buddy Chris is a big Kentucky fan. His backup team, though, is Xavier because that's where he went to school. I was like, dude, you just need to switch officially to Xavier.
Like the Arkansas to me, like I thought Kansas was going to bounce him. I'm not really that, I thought Kansas would get ahead of him. I know the kid got hurt or whatever. But you look at the Arkansas losses. Like who did they beat? That's good. Nobody. They beat Kentucky on the road. That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Musselman, I will say, he's kind of a sneaky good coach. Like he really.
I guess San Diego State on a neutral.
He's feisty. All right, someone asked about the NIT. Do we have the lines out for the NIT?
There's no NIT lines yet. Let's where were we in?
I tell you, the team to watch. I had Utah Valley parlayed with the Clippers late. I didn't have the best day. I was like, I loved Utah Valley all day, so I was like, dude, I'm gonna find somebody. So I had money line, and paid pretty well. Utah Valley sneaky good. I think Cincinnati has to go to Utah Valley, I believe.
I don't know. So overs finally hit. A lot of unders. Overs today though. They were 75% coming into today. I think 12-2 or something on
12 and
Friday.
There's 16 games, so 12-4.
12-4, maybe 12-4 or something like that. UCLA was picked for the Rangers. That's the problem with UCLA. They're banged up. Milwaukee's going to cover. They'd be very good. Yeah. Milwaukee's zero respect for that team in the CBI.
What's that line though? I saw it kind of stuck out a little bit because these are neutral site game, right?
This is all in Florida. They're playing in Florida
They're playing at the
in
Orlando?
Daytona Beach, I think. Discount Tires.
Okay.
Discount Tire.
I saw all verse games. I'm like, when did the CBI become I'm guessing it just saves travel probably.
Where the CBI? I thought I had CBI lines in the chat. I just had, well, these are my picks in the CBI. I didn't have the total lines up here, but Indiana State's a 5.5 over Eastern Kentucky.
Underdog?
They're favored by 5.5.
Okay.
Southern Utah is 6 over Rice. San Jose is 6.5 over Radford, and then Charlotte is 6 over Milwaukee.
That's San Jose State. I watched them against, I think it was either New Mexico or Nevada. They're pretty freaking good. San Jose State.
They had some nice wins towards the end of the year.
To me, it's always, but at this point, it's motivation. You know, what kids want to be there. Like Vanderbilt, like the way they have played in the NIT, they want to be there. Even though the Studi kid opted out and looks like he's going to go to Pitt, like they want to be in the NIT. They want to win the NIT. You know, does San Jose State want to? You know, that's a long road travel for them.
Vandy's got UAB in the NIT. So Tuesday NIT is North Texas, Vandy. Oklahoma State. Yeah, that game is at Vandy, and then the next round would be in Vegas.
Yeah.
But we got North Texas at Oklahoma State on Tuesday, no line. Wisconsin at Oregon, no line. And then obviously UAB.
Cincinnati playing Utah Valley.
And it's Cincinnati's home.
Cincinnati's the home team.
Cincinnati's the home team. I'll still take Utah Valley.
What's the line? I'm guessing they're probably getting 6, maybe 7.
There's no line posted.
There was 4.5 today. I was like, this is an absolute joke. They are going to kill them. I mean, they've really played well. Both games haven't really been that close.
No, they're a tough little squad, Utah Valley. We had them today. I had them.
They have that little white guard that can just. I mean, he can get in the lane, score. He can shoot from outside, and he sets up his teammates well. I like them.
No line. Oregon, Wisconsin. Oregon's home. I'm guessing that would probably be what, a 5-ish
for Wisconsin or Oregon.
Oregon over Wisconsin.
I'm guessing it'll be in the 4. Most of these lines have been about 4. I mean, Wisconsin can't win on the road though, so I mean, Oregon's won by 1, and what did they win the second game?
How about KenPom has Utah Valley 2-point favored
over Cincinnati? I'm pretty sure
they have Utah Valley as the home team though. He has Utah Valley.
I think that's the case. I was watching the Utah Valley game tonight. They said the winner of that game has Cincinnati's going there. Okay. I mean, I don't know if they're right or. I mean, it was an NIT broadcast, so hopefully they got that right. So that would make sense if Utah Valley, because Cincinnati has not been good on the road this year, even though they did. They were impressive today. I mean, they won very easy today. Cincinnati's talent has not been a problem this year. Like they played with Houston. They were up on Houston at Houston until about 4 or 5 minutes ago and ended up losing by 6. They almost beat Memphis. Like they're pretty freaking good. Cincinnati. Xavier, I don't know if you remember the Xavier game. They were down 1 with 3 seconds to go, and they tried to call a timeout, and they didn't have one, so they got a technical, and that's how I covered that game. I mean, that was one of the best covers of all time. I mean, that was because, if they throw it in and can't foul, then I would have lost.
I'm just looking over the Utah Valley schedule. They won at Oregon, not bad. Won at BYU, beat Long Beach State, lost to Boise.
They're pretty good.
Boise was good at the beginning of the year.
They're going to put up 70 in mid-70s. You're going to beat them. You're going to have to score. That is Cincinnati's kind of hang-up when they don't shoot the ball well.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati is full of some seniors, so that's always good. And I think Cincinnati, being seniors that aren't coming back, they want to hey, I want to go out. They haven't done anything in their careers, basically. So, this is their chance.
I want to see this guy.
What's the Wisconsin? Did you have what's the KenPom on that? It's got to be 2 or 3, right? 4?
Who's that? That's against Oregon. It's 6.
6. Ooh. I mean, Oregon is one of those teams. I mean, they have beat some of the best Pac-12 teams, and then they've got absolutely trounced by some of the worst Pac-12 teams.
I like them today. I thought it was a good spot with Central Florida coming cross country. And
what was the final on that one? I didn't have any action in it, so I kind of tuned that one out.
68-54.
Yeah, that was a tough spot because UCF played so good at Florida. Florida was kind of mailing it in because they
Yeah,
had all those injuries, and then it was like like you said, have to travel cross country,
come on.
and it's not
Especially,
like it was on television because it was against they had the
yeah.
girls teams or one, so like they didn't get
No,
to.
but not only that, you're playing Florida, and we had UCF. We put them out here in the chat too as well. You're playing a in-state rival. You know you want to win against a down Florida team. So
Yeah,
you're putting everything into that game, and again, you're traveling 3,000 miles to the
yeah.
Northwest, Pacific Northwest. Come on,
I
terrible
don't
spot.
know. I don't. The NIT needs to like go to like regional, like making teams travel all over. Like it's just a waste. It's just
I
do
mean, that's
regional.
a haul. Florida to freaking Oregon.
Yeah,
Come
like you
on.
telling me that you couldn't do 8 teams or 4 teams out west, and then do the other 12 that would have been in the Midwest or East, so that travel wouldn't have been an issue.
No. Well, I think they want fans. It's easy to say let's put everybody in a Pac-12 school in LA or something or Vegas, and then something
Yeah,
in
the problem is
you could even use Dayton or MSG or how about the Barclays? Use the Barclays Center.
they don't get good crowds because it's against a lot of these teams are on spring break
Yeah.
for the colleges, so it's like you have basically this week the teams will be back. So which I think is that's why the Utah Valley guy said Utah Valley will be back and they haven't played on national television in like 3 years, so this will be a nationally televised game. With Cincinnati coming there, they'll pack the house. They said.
Oh yeah, I'd still like them either way. I mean, I'd take Utah Valley there.
Yeah, so that'd be a tough spot for my Bearcats.
Nice little whack attack there.
Yeah, and then what was the last one?
For
there was one last game of the NIT.
Oklahoma State is
That one is,
playing
and they're big favorite, right?
North Texas.
12 is what I saw.
I didn't even get a
Remember on it?
no. There's no line. I don't know why there's no NIT lines. I have no idea.
I thought I saw someone put us on Twitter, the advanced line or something, and it was double digits, and I was like,
Really?
North Texas got 28 wins. Now Oklahoma State at home has been really freaking good this year, but is Kansas State the only Big 12 team left?
Yeah. That's
so
it.
You have Kansas State and Oklahoma State, the only two. And at one point this season,
no, Texas is playing Texas.
Texas. Okay, so Texas is probably their best chance. Like at one point this season, they think they were going to get 10 teams into the Big Dance.
I think they're talking about like Texas Tech could make a case for it, even though they had 4 wins of conference. I mean, it's ridiculous. And again, I say this all the time, Craig, in here. Like people are like, "Oh, we got to expand the NCAAs or the playoffs." You're going to expand it. You're not going to get North Texas and their 29 wins. You're going to get 9 teams out of the SEC, the ACC, the Big, all these big schools. Like the football, the 12-team football conference is going to be 6 teams from the SEC, 4 from the Big 10, an ACC, and a Big 12 team. That's it. That's going to be
what I have heard though is that every conference will get their conference champion in, regular season conference champion, and their tournament champion in. So sometimes it'll be the same team, sometimes not. So some of these lesser conferences, if you're unbelievable, like FAU this year, if they did not win their tournament, like they would have been probably a 10 or 11 seed. Like it would have, UAB didn't get in, and UAB had a great season.
Yeah, so it's terrible UAB didn't get in.
Like to me, I that will help if you put 2 teams in, your conference champion and your tournament champion. After
KenPom has Okie State 3.
So 2 16 seeds have won in what 5 years now?
Yeah.
And before that, they were for the world. That is the argument I have at expansion now, because if these teams, FDU wouldn't even been in the tournament if they're the conference champion.
Merrimack should have been there.
Couldn't go because they, which is the dumbest rule ever. You're telling me you're moving up in class. I'm moving up from Division II, Division I. Sometimes
I'm not good enough to play in the NCAA tournament. I just want my conference.
Now, if I went down, I could understand the argument to that way. But going up, because 3 years ago it was Bellarmine that didn't get in.
Yep.
So we've had this happen. Now, obviously, this one wins the play-in game and then beats Purdue with Zach Edey, the Player of the Year. I mean, that was some kind of crazy win. But that is the argument. You're having teams that are, like.
I say this all the time, Craig. Like back in the day, 15 years ago, the 1 seeds are 36-point favorites over the 16 teams. These games aren't even close back in the day.
People thought that
They'd open at 27.
People thought the NIL and expansion would make Duke, Kansas, these teams better. Guess what? Duke, Kansas, UNC, all of them are not even in the tournament or not even left.
Yeah.
It has made the other teams better because Kansas State goes and gets the Johnson kid from Florida. Like that's what it's made. It's allowed teams that aren't the very, very top teams that maybe are missing a couple pieces to go get them. I mean, Creighton needed a shooter. They go and get the kid, the shooter, the white kid, and change that whole team, because if you have a big kid that you don't have shooters, you're just going to play zone against them.
Yeah.
So to me, it's changed. If you want to be good, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, you need to get in the transfer portal and get some pieces, guys that aren't like, necessarily NBA players, that are just really good basketball players.
So they'll learn those teams. I mean, Carolina, Kansas. I mean, Duke.
Carolina's
Carolina. I shouldn't put Kansas in that, because they always kind of just. I mean, Remy Martin seemed to play forever. I mean, they just have guys on that team just seem.
He transferred from Arizona State.
Exactly, but I was like, you're like, what the heck? This guy's still playing. Like, everybody on Kansas, are like, that guy's still here. Like, how long has he been here? Like, they keep guys.
They lost 4 players off the championship team and were number 1 seed. And if they would have beat Texas, they had a chance to be the overall number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, that they do reload, but they don't get a lot of transfers. Like,
no,
Remy Martin was a transfer, but they don't get a ton. I think you're going to have to. And like I said, it doesn't need to be the guy. You don't need to go get Zach Edey. You need to go get a role player that helps your team.
Kansas, though, is interesting now with Bill Self. Like, what happened with him?
He had a heart stent put in.
That what it was?
Yeah. They eventually announced it early in the week.
They said it was some kind of coronary problem. You thinking it was a heart attack, or
he had to put a double bypass, stent in, and then and so they were worried about the stress, and that would cause, like that could come loose. And I didn't think necessarily coaching cost them that game, though. The guy gets a 10-second call against the guy.
No, that wasn't. Yeah,
that was the difference for the game, because
the rookie got hurt too. Didn't one of their guys get hurt in the first half?
The point guard went out in the first half and missed the last 4 minutes. He did play the second half. I thought he played pretty good, but you definitely could tell he wasn't. He was kind of their glue guy. But the Blue Bloods need to change. It's not just going to get the McDonald's All-Americans anymore. That doesn't do it. We haven't seen since Anthony Davis and that team won, which was maybe the best talented team since maybe UNLV.
That was like 10 years ago.
Like more, right?
I remember. It was a long time ago.
Davis been in the league a long time.
It's been quite a while.
So to me, it's like, you're not winning with that, so you got to change. I'm not saying you don't go get the McDonald's All-Americans, but you're going to have to get some. I mean, the best player on Kentucky this year was Sheedway. That was a transfer from West Virginia.
And that's always my case for going against Kentucky early in the year, because they just bring in a bunch of guys leave, a bunch of freshmen, sophomore who are All-American. They're the studs on their team, and you got a bunch of ball hogs or just guys who are used to being ball dominant.
They haven't figured it out.
Yeah. And so this is the time you play them. Like today, I was like, all right, this is when I'm playing Kentucky. I played them against Providence. I'll play them here. Better talent. It's March. It's not November. You should win this game.
Did you see who's the guy that breaks all the news in college basketball? ESPN. Can't think of it. Anyway, because the transfer portal opened a week ago or whatever that was, a week ago Monday. It was like 432 players entered or something. And some players, the Studi kid was the 5th player on Vanderbilt. That was the number 1 seed, or one of the 4 number 1 seeds. Yeah. So that kid's not on the team. It sounds like he's going to go to Pitt too. But to me, it's like, we can't wait till after the tournament.
People are like, oh, the guys are leaving teams. I'm like, well, who's leaving? Like, teams in the NCAA tournament. Like, I didn't even know who left.
Maybe.
Anybody left it?
Probably not those guys, but definitely the NIT a couple have. To me, it's just not. First of all, those teams want to be involved too. How's it an advantage if I'm in the tournament still and I can't be involved with guys in the portal because I'm trying to coach my team?
Yeah.
But to me, just wait till after the Final Four. It's like 2.5 more weeks, and And
Yeah, that's
you know,
ridiculous. That it's
it's
started.
the
I saw
dumbest thing.
something about like a portal. I'm like, they're doing player transfers right now, and just like tournament time. It's like,
Pitt was playing. Pitt was playing, and they got the Studi kid. It sounds like from Vanderbilt. Like it was before their 64
that's like
game.
let's start free agency in like the first week of the NFL wild card. Free agency. Let's have.
It's just the dumbest thing. You know, I hate the NIL. I hate the transfer. I just, I'm an old. To me, I think if you want to be a pro and get paid, go play professional sports. Like now, I'm not saying kids shouldn't get paid, and it should be a set. To me, I think it should be a set thing because if you're paying the kid from Alabama quarterback was named what? I can't think of his name. Not Stroud. That was Ohio State, but he made $1 million too.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young made 1.4 million or something stupid, and there's other kids on the team making 40,000. Like that's a problem that I wouldn't want to have to deal with as a coach. If they all made 50 grand, I mean, to me, the difference if you're making 1.5 million, you're going to go pro and you're going to make your money anyway. The guy at the end, like he's not going pro, so he could use more money than the top guys. In my,
I guess money management, though, kid. Come on.
It's just
put that money in the bank.
The transfer portal is, to me, I think you should have if you I'm a coach, you say you're coming to me, you should have to give me 2 years. Unless I leave or I get fired, then you should be able to transfer without having to sit out. But to me, if I do a great job and develop this kid, and I'm at Liberty, let's say, because Liberty was a pretty damn good team this year. You think any of those kids are staying at Liberty?
No, they're gonna go somewhere else.
They're gonna, try to improve their, stock and their NIL at a bigger school that has more, TV revenue that gives them more money.
Absolutely.
Like, I just can't stand
Listen,
it.
I mean, I'm like you in your thing because I think the college kids should stay and play ball for at least 2 years. Like, I don't think there's 18-year-olds who be going to the NBA. You're not.
I don't care if they go to the NBA. That's where you get paid, though. To me, if
I get it, but you're not. I mean, how many guys are that great? There's not. I mean, you have.
But that's like businesses fail. It's like if you start a business, you might fail. If you go to the NBA, you might fail. But the guys that are going, they will have other avenues. The developmental league and the NBA.
I guess. I mean, that's a develop. I mean,
Europe.
I'm biased because I see guys can't hit free throws. You can't hit a 15-foot jumper. Like, what? How are you going pro? Like, how can you go and say, I'm going to take this guy and, we'll get him to develop a jumper. He's only 19. Well, I mean, he can't shoot at 19. How's he going to shoot at 22 when he's on the bench as a 13th man? Jay Billis.
Not Jay Billis. It's Andy Katz.
Andy Katz.
Because Jay Billis is an announcer. Like, Andy Katz is a guy, he's, and now I can't think of the guy in the NFL. Sham is
Shams is NBA.
The NBA. I can't think of the NFL now.
What's his name?
Adam Schefter.
Schefter.
Okay, so, but to me, it's like, I don't know. Just come up with rules. Like the NIL and everything was put in without like any thought of how it was affecting the game. Which to me, it's like respect the game. Like respect the game. All right, I had to jump in.
Here's the St. John's stuff. Chris Mullen called about Pitino going to St. John's. Come on.
I mean, Rick Pitino is going to have the job if he wants it. Georgetown there. If Ed Cooley goes to Georgetown, he could have the Providence job if he wants. He probably could have pretty much any job coming open. But remember, Rick Pitino is 70 or 71 years old.
Yeah, that's some young cat. Greg, pick for NIT champion. Don't be a homer.
I like Vandy and Utah Valley. Those are the teams that I think are the hottest two teams right now.
Well, they face each other. They'll face each other.
Right. So I think maybe the winner of that. Vandy will have the home court advantage. So,
no, that game is in New Orleans.
Oh yeah, because that'd be the Final Four.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are I thought Vandy, of all the teams that had arguments to get in the tournament, I thought Vandy, because there was no hotter team in the SEC. They beat some really good teams, including Kentucky twice. To me, I would have rather seen them get in than Clemson or NC State that everybody's arguing about, or Mississippi State. Like, to me, those teams were they didn't really beat anybody. It's like Vandy beat people.
Rutgers. People wanted Rutgers in.
Rutgers, yeah, and then they lose the first game, of the NIT. Hofstra. Yeah.
Groovy says he's taking Texas, Faden, Javier.
Eh, I, you know the one thing about Texas that worries me?
Is it
They
the
do
final
not
eight?
shoot. They do not shoot the ball well from three. And Xavier's a team that can. I think Xavier is like 16-1 or something this year when they score over 75 points.
Japan baseball minus $2. I mean, best play tomorrow. There's 2 games. I'm taking Milwaukee in the 6. Have you been following the World Baseball Classic? I haven't really watched much of it.
I haven't watched any of it. To me, talk about bad scheduling. We're going to put it up against the NCAA tournament. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why wouldn't you play it? Why wouldn't you play it this midweek? If you played it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you would get good ratings.
It's so much. It's all over the place. They can't have that.
The problem is baseball is regular season baseball. They don't understand. They think they're the biggest like draw in sports. They don't realize baseball is no longer the Americans' pastime. That football and basketball has passed them, and it's not even close.
I know, and that's why they're doing this ridiculous phantom runners and let's get guys make the game faster.
I mean, they're grasping at straws, but at least they're trying something. Like,
bro, I'm telling you, in 3 years, 7-inning games. Here comes 7-inning games.
But I hate the shift. I hate the shift.
Oh, I could go against the shift, absolutely.
Just get rid of the shift, and then to me, make the in between the innings faster. That's all they needed to do. Like the guy doesn't need to go out there.
You're going to get up to take a leak and get some need. You're going to you'll miss 2 innings of baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you going to bring? Were you going to have a bedpan next to you in your seat? I mean,
I did kind of like the extra inning rule that they put in because to me, I hate when it goes to 15 or 16 innings. You know what I mean? I want a little more
I don't mind going to a game and sitting there for 20 innings. I go to these minor league games. My kids want to leave because every time we go to one, it turns into like it's 8 in the 4th inning, and I'm just going 13 innings. It's wild. I love it.
I'm excited to see how it works and how it changes because as a bettor and a handicapper, we've gotten used to what works for us and trying to find winners. That's not going to be the case anymore.
Overs all over the place.
Well, obviously.
The older pitchers, I'm looking to fade because there's no way they're going to be able to keep up their. They're used to stepping off and working. Playing their little games.
Do you think young teams? I kind of think young teams will do better because they've been
playing with that in the minors for a couple years.
So to me, I think the younger teams might be better early in the year. People will get used to this. It's like the best player. The cream rises to the top always.
The hitters are going to hit. The pitchers are going to have problems. Yeah. And your older pitchers, your experienced pitchers are going to have problems.
But I will say this. When a pitcher works fast sometimes and they're dealing, and then the guy's always stepping out to try to break up, he ain't going to be able to do that anymore. So the pitchers that are on a roll might actually be able to dominate more because they can just, they can't adjust because it's just like, here comes another pitch. Here comes another pitch. Here comes another pitch. Yeah.
I
hope they're done with the rule changes. Though.
You're just grasping at straws of people who don't watch the game. The games are too long. What? Have you been to a game? No. Come on.
But that's the problem. I'm not a big go-to baseball games because it was so boring, and I feel like I'm missing so much, especially as a bettor and a handicapper. I'm checking my phone the whole time, trying to figure out. It's the same reason I don't like going to NFL games either because there's all these games going on at once or college football, and I'm missing. Now it's one thing if you go to Thursday night football, it's the only game on.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Monday night football, I've done that several times with the Bengals. But to me, it's very I feel like I'm missing a lot. I think they should on the have the red zone on the jumbotron.
Baseball?
No, for football.
Oh, for football?
NFL, just have the red zone on the jumbotrons the whole game, so that you don't miss all the.
I remember going to games and they don't even put scores up. You're on your phone looking.
Baseball, they have a problem because if you look at the other leagues, how much they've gained on and passed them, on attendance and revenue. In baseball, the teams are worth a lot because the TV revenue has gone up, but the in-game revenue has not gone up that much. In fact, some teams have gone down, even though they're charging way more for tickets.
Well, they charge for tickets. The food's ridiculous. And, you gotta pay, right? It's everything built into that. It's for salaries and this and that, but it's Vandy over ASU for sure. Well, they're not playing ASU.
Oh, because ASU was the last team in.
Oh, okay.
Although ASU won
Yeah.
the game
What are we talking about?
and had a chance to beat TCU. So Arizona State got in because they hit a 60-foot walk-off at Arizona.
Exactly.
That's a problem for me because that's almost like a fluke thing. Not saying they didn't win because they obviously did, but to me, it's like if that's the reason, which it is, they got in. If they were the last team in, if they lose that game, they don't get in.
No, I mean, give me UAB over them. I mean, again, Vandy has their case. I get it. I just don't like, and we've seen decent showing from the SEC. I thought they were pretty competitive. They weren't terrible.
Hear me out here. I would like to see a way for the NIT to be the play-in tournament for the NCAA tournament. I don't know how you do it because, like, if you did it for 3 days, maybe, like you played 3 days in a row, and then that team didn't play. They played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that team didn't play till Friday. I think that would be really cool. They all go to Dayton. There would be 12 teams.
If that's the case, all the games end by like February 27th. There's no conference tournaments, and you start into your tournament time.
You'd have to still like fit it in, like. But to me, I just like I love the 4 games. I do not want the 16 teams to have to play to get in, though. I think that's unfair. Those teams.
Are we having that? Stop it. Who's short of? I mean, stop.
If you win your conference tournament, you should not have to play in the playing games. It should be the last 4 at-large teams. They didn't win their conference tournament. They didn't earn the right to get a
but come on, they're not gonna put Texas Corpus Christi somewhere. No. I mean, you saw it. We had San Diego State, Charleston, and Furman all facing each other if things worked right. They want to get rid of those teams. They want all their big name schools. You think they're happy that FAU's in here and Princeton's in here? Come on.
Because the problem is the selection committee is all the power conferences.
Yes.
Represented by the power conference. There's very few non-power conferences in the room. So to me, obviously the representation is
ridiculous.
Is where it's going to happen. That's why the expansion would help. If you had more expansion, and you would have to say, we're going to expand, we're going to put some of the more smaller teams, because that's the story of the tournament.
They don't care about that. They're getting ratings anyway. They don't care. They'll put Wisconsin in. They'll put Vanderbilt in. Here comes Rutgers.
Although someone said, I think it was Andy Katz. I heard him. I was driving home, and it was in between the games because for some reason they can't figure out how to not have there's like 30 minutes in between games early, both Saturday and Sunday. Like you can't figure out how to overlap these games enough so there's not.
Forget how for freaking 20 years I'm been since 1991, and I've had games nonstop on Channel 2 my entire life, and they have a little thing up top you see. I don't need them on 9 different channels. Okay, that's great. They're on different channels.
I don't care if they're on different channels.
The live look-ins. How do you stagger them? There should be a game on all time. And we got stuck. We always had that random 4:45 game. There'd be one game because it's like a West Coast game, so it's 1 o'clock for them, but it's 5 o'clock on the East Coast.
They want more games later because it gets better ratings because the West Coast comes in. So they don't want to have 2. They don't want to have a 12 o'clock, a 1:30. To stagger it out all day long because
it's ridiculous.
But to me, I was like, so anyway, I'm watching, and Andy Katz I'm on the radio. I'm driving home from BW3s today. And he's like, this will be the first year since there's only been 2 years since 1996 that we haven't had the Blue Bloods in. Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Indiana, and somebody else. There's 6 teams. UCLA is the only one. He's like, we're going to see if the ratings drop because, people like to root against Duke, even if they don't like Duke. People like to root against North Carolina if they don't like North Carolina. Will the same people want to root against Kansas State? Will the same people want to root against Xavier? We'll see. We're going to see
for the final four.
The Sweet 16. Well, it could affect the Final Four too because
No, because if you get a team like Princeton or FAU in there, people are going to cheer because here comes an underdog in the Sweet 16.
It's not exactly true though. If you look at the ratings, it doesn't always. The fans like me and you love it, of course. But you're not getting, the non-fans that they do draw when it's Duke, North Carolina, the big boys. Kentucky. Kentucky was the other team, I think. So UCLA is the only one. I would say Gonzaga is getting to the point now where they've been in, 8 in a row? Sweet 16s? I think it's 8 in a row. That they are a borderline Power 5.
They are absolutely they are.
Blood. I mean,
you're in a championship game in Final Four, multiple Final Fours. I think you got to be considered a decent team.
If you're the Big 12 or the Pac-12, you should break the bank to bring Gonzaga in. I know they don't have football, but it would make your basketball team conference a ton better. A ton.
Yeah.
I know they're like the Big 12. I was listening to the Big 12 tournament, and the Big 12 commissioner got asked directly about it. He said, "Of course, we're in talks with them continuously and trying to figure out the finances because they wouldn't get an equal share because obviously they don't have football, and that's where a lot of the revenue comes in. But they would still get a ton more money than there are in the West Coast Conference.
Why don't they go to the? I mean, I know the Pac-12 lost their guys. Why don't they go to the Pac-12?
Because they have the worst revenue right now because they haven't got a new deal yet, and it's hard because there's no draw in the Pac-12 now that USC and UCLA is going. I mean, you got Oregon, like that's not that.
Nike. That's Nike.
It's money. Nike, I get it, but they have tons of money at Oregon, but it's like their fans. It's just not that big.
I think they take
Washington and
St. Mary. They take St. Mary's and Gonzaga and take UNLV, San Diego State.
The problem is football. Like you can't take too many you can't take that many
Well, that was the problem with the Big East when they had.
That was exactly the problem because the Big East schools they wanted equal shares. You couldn't give them equal shares when they don't have football. Because football brings in 3 times as much revenue. So the Pac-12 and the Big 12 should just take the best teams and put them together and leave out the worst teams. Like you don't need. I would leave out Stanford, Cal. I would take Arizona State, Washington, and Oregon and be like, hey, come on in. And I try to get the Gonzaga to come in for basketball only. It would make a hell of a basketball conference, and your football wouldn't be that bad. I mean, Oregon's decent every once in a while. Houston, we've seen what they can do in football. We've seen what Cincinnati can do in football. Oklahoma State's not terrible. Baylor's not terrible. It's like, obviously you're not making up for Texas and Oklahoma with that's just not the case.
Well, don't worry about it. They'll be back after they get trounced in the SEC. So
I don't think so. The money won't let them come back. That's the problem. Like to me, eventually it needs to be.
Let me tell you, bro. These Texas people are insane down here. No way. They're not gonna.
Well, they won't get trounced because the money's going to be so big. They'll be able to play. They'll be able to outpay every player.
So what? They'll be 8-4 every year. Hi, they'll be Texas A&M. Be 8-4 every year.
Texas A&M. I know this year it didn't work out, but they had a ridiculous recruiting class.
They'll be 8-4 every year.
If every year Texas A&M gets that same recruiting class, they will be good.
Who's coaching? They need. Can he get an offensive coordinator?
He won a national championship. Like
20 years ago. I mean, come on.
It was Jameis Winston was the quarterback. Jameis Winston
was that? It was a decade ago.
I think it might be at this point.
I mean, how long ago was that? Come on.
8-9 years ago, maybe 10. But to me, you don't forget how to coach. The problem is now it's not just coaching; it's recruiting in the NIL. You got to recruit transfers. It's a whole different.
Yeah.
Even Nick Saban, I think, is struggling a little bit at this whole new system, and I think Georgia is kind of a step ahead at this point. Now we'll see. Now Georgia's lost their really good class. We'll see if Alabama can
back to back champs. Georgia,
back to back, and they have a younger coach. They have the younger, like Nick Saban. That's how I would recruit against him. Dude, he's 72 years old. He's not he could die. Like, what are you gonna do if he dies?
Really though? I mean, the guy's 72. I mean,
right. He could just say after this year, you know what? I don't need this. I've proven I'm the best coach ever. Like at this point, like I don't need it anymore. Like that happens. I mean, not saying James Boeheim wanted to coach, and they just said eventually, like, dude, you got to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I'd recruit. You can't do that. Kirby Smarty's what, 50?
Saban's won a little more than Boeheim.
Well, actually, Boeheim won a lot more. But
game-wise. Well, that's because they're playing 30, 35 games a year, too, as opposed to 11.
I hated to see it, but to me, if they wanted Jim Boeheim out, they should have just done the Mike Krzyzewski. Like, hey, dude, this is going to be your last year. Let you announce that you're leaving, and you're going to do your tour, and everywhere you go, they're going to give you a, signed, piece of floor. To do it the way they did it, I thought was – after the guy's been there that long.
Yeah, but he's part of the problem. Come on, Jim. What are you doing? Get the heck out of here, bro.
His problem is he didn't, it's like, it's like your grandma that you go over and she uses the N word. You're like, Grandma, you can't say that. She's like, what did I say? What did I say? He would be like, he's in the press conference like, well, Pitt bought a team and so did Miami. And guess what? They had to go play those teams in the next 2 weeks. Guess what happened? They got absolutely hammered because you know what those coaches said? These guys said that, you just got bought. And then they get hammered. And that's like, to me, he was his own worst enemy. But
yeah, he can't recruit. He doesn't know how to play today's game.
It's hard for guys 70 plus to be able to relate to players that are 18, 19, 20 years old. That's just facts. I hope Bob Huggins, he's my favorite coach. I hope he's not next.
He's getting up there.
He's 70 or 71.
Is he that old?
Yeah. He doesn't want to leave. Now the difference is, well, I guess it'd be the same. He went to, his grandparents grew up there. He went to school there. He's lived, it was always his dream job. So he's building a cancer hospital in his mom's name, his deceased mom's name, at West Virginia University Hospital. So to me, I hope he doesn't get escorted out like that. That would be absolutely terrible. But eventually, it happens to everybody. I mean, what was the guy at Florida State? Not Jimbo Fisher.
Bobby Bowden.
I mean, they had to get rid of him the same way. Joe Paterno. I mean, it's like, I can't think. I guess Krzyzewski would be the only one, right?
Left on his own kind of term. Well,
yeah, I can't think of another. North Carolina.
No, Dean Smith, Williams. John Thompson left. Louis Carnesecca, all the old guys.
But some of those guys, they were losing at the end, and they were like St. John's. Well, they were like, "Hey, you got to go," kind of thing.
Because it's it's the 90s were different than the 70s and 80s. This is definitely different than 10 years ago, 5 years ago. The way the recruiting is.
Ricketts wrong. Gonzaga's going. Like the news was out at the West Coast Conference that the money is so ridiculous for Gonzaga. It's like triple, which it's not about the basketball program. The basketball program has plenty of money. It's when you're the athletic director and you're the president, it's how are you funding women's lacrosse? How are you funding baseball for the men, softball, soccer? These sports don't make any money. You have to make enough money. It's the same thing for all these. USC and UCLA, they did not leave because of football and basketball. They left because the other sports needed to be paid for, and they needed the money that the Big Ten's giving them. So it's the same thing with Gonzaga. The same team with I hear UNLV is pushing hard. Them in San Diego State for the Pac-12.
Yeah, perfect. That's a good fit.
Yeah, because San Diego State's the most obvious fit. You got to have two teams. You can't just have one. You can't have odd amount of teams because scheduling's a nightmare. So
no, UNLV you want Vegas involved and San Diego State. Hello, it's San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. It's geographically it makes sense for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pac-12 messed up, to be very honest, when they got Colorado. It was like, dude, you went and got the worst team from the Big 12 or whatever it was back then, the Big 6 or whatever they called it.
The Big 8.
It was like, dude, you got the worst team. You needed to go get Oklahoma State.
Nebraska. Yeah, somebody else.
Tech. Like somebody that actually is decent at football. It makes no sense. But the problem is like Oregon doesn't want to leave Oregon State. Washington doesn't want to leave Washington State.
Yep.
Stanford doesn't want to leave Cal. So there's Arizona and Arizona State. So like that's the problem right now with the football side of it, especially. But the Big 12 they've got a lot better standing than the Pac-12 because they signed that new deal when they brought Houston and Cincinnati and BYU.
Yeah.
That brought and UCF, right? UCF's the fourth team. Yeah. That's pretty big.
BYU would have been all right in the Pac-12.
Right, but the Pac-12 wasn't ready. Like they couldn't give them that money. The Pac-12, remember how you try to watch a Pac-12 football game late at night that's not a good game.
No, it's terrible on a Friday night.
I mean, I have every package you can possibly buy for DirecTV for football. And then I also have YouTube TV. I have everything you can get because I have to be able to watch every game I want to bet on. You can't get Pac-12 network if you're in the Midwest. Like, how do you expect to grow your conference? I can watch every Big 12 game, every Big 10 game.
They should have put on the Bally Sports Network. Now they're bankrupt. They're selling Bally Sports Network, all those channels.
Well, they're not selling them. They're basically just going to divide their money up. So at least that's what I was reading about it, because the Major League Baseball Network was worried that they wouldn't be able to broadcast their games because they wouldn't be able to pay the staff to go put these on, and then they pay these huge fees to the teams. But I guess they haven't missed any payments to the teams yet, and they're saying they're not going to. So we'll see. Anyway, all right. DirecTV equals no Pac-12 network. It's not just DirecTV though. I have at my apartment in Cincinnati. I don't have DirecTV because it's apartment, and you can't put a stupid dish. I have Spectrum. You can't get it on Spectrum either, which is the stupidest thing like ever. All right, so Higgs, we still don't have NIT lines on. That sucks.
No, I've been looking since last week for NIT lines.
Crazy.
I don't understand.
All right, hey, if you're watching still, get in on the new Picks and Parlays app. Download the new Picks and Parlays app. Go to your app store. Picks and Parlays. New Picks and Parlays app. So far, you can only get my picks on it, but there's tons. This is just literally the brand new beta version. Is 2 weeks out. We have more things coming down the line. Let's just say that. So, but it's going to be easier way to get your videos, picks, free picks, articles, everything. So,
a new show on Monday.
New show Monday, yeah. So for you guys that don't know, Allie Burns is no longer with us. So the Morning Wood show is going away, and the Power Hour show is going away, and we're going to put those two together. So I think it's going to be called. I'm not even sure what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be at 1:00 every day starting tomorrow. You'll see me on there tomorrow just to announce it all and kind of get it rolling.
My recommendations are winning wagers or better up.
I think, what did I tell? Lenny sent me yours, and I kind of changed it a little bit. Let me say it. This is what he. Let me find it. Betting. You said time to bet. I said, how about betting time? BETTTIME.
Betting time. Yeah, time to bet, like better up. Lenny said the better up sounded more like a baseball show.
Right. I liked it for baseball season, but I was like, rest of the year. So I don't even know. We might even have a little contest at the so the Morning Wood Facebook group will be where the contest version of the show will still be there, and we'll be calling it whatever that Morning Wood will become, whatever that show's name. So yeah. So excited actually, because we were at the last 3 or 4 months trying to figure out what we were going to do with the Morning Wood and Allie, and so she's moving on to somewhere else, and which I can't say, and so we're excited. We got possibly a new girl that's going to take on some of her duties. So yeah, should be. News always good. We lost Chelsea Messenger. We found Hannah Mears, which Hannah's unbelievable and Chelsea's unbelievable. So yeah, always someone leaves, it's always some for somebody else.
That's it. They're poaching. It's like you said. We're like a small conference. People come in and they transfer out.
Well, I wouldn't say that with Allie. I love Allie, but it was just time. We got up. She was I think she was frustrated with us, and we were somewhat frustrated with her. So sometimes things just evolve, and that's the 2.0 Picks and Parlays 2.0. Lenny's Morning Wood. I don't know if we can say Lenny's Morning Wood and get away with it. Like we could say Allie could say Morning Wood and get away with it. So
Lenny's Morning Wood.
And Lenny will be in charge of production, and he'll be 2 to 3 days probably hosting, and then Hannah will help us post a few days, and then we'll have the new girl or guy. I could end up being a guy, but yeah. So, and then you'll see me and Sean and all the other handicappers that are on Power Hour. We're going to be blended in, and all the contests and everything will still be the same. So, that's picks from Dave. I like Dave. Dave was on. What was it, last week? I saw him, and I was like, "Who's?" I mean, I've met Dave before. I was on some other things with him, but I was like, "Damn, he's stealing Allie's thunder." I think it was Allie.
Well, guys, I know. I think he rolls with the Earls. Picture
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, maybe.
There he is. He pops in sometimes.
I love Larinaga. I tell you what.
Yes, Boise.
Where was he? Where was he when he made the Final Four? It was
Oh yeah,
it wasn't Richmond. It was their rival,
George Mason.
George Mason. Yeah, in that conference at least. I mean, VCU made the Final Four.
Yeah, freaking Pac-12 network baseball.
If you're betting Pac-12 baseball, it's like betting Japanese baseball to me. It's like I just can't do it.
There you go. 8-8 up 563.
NHL? Just betting the dogs?
Only plus money. I'm like, you can't lay those kind of numbers. Just go the opposite on them. There you go. 8-8. You're up.
It's
Uncle
hard to
Lenny's
make a
dance
living. To me, it's hard to make a living in hockey. I know there's a lot of guys that do it because there's so many, like, the different lines. Like, you have to watch it all the time. Because, you know, if like the second defensive, well, I don't even know, the center, let's just say the second center on the second unit goes down, it doesn't make that big of news that you're finding it everywhere. If Kevin Durant goes down, you see it on every freaking network. You don't miss it.
Korean baseball?
We do cover the Korean baseball, just like, not that I like it, but we covered it during the pandemic, and so we've just not stopped.
Hold on a second. Jesse wants to know, did you catch a buzzer beater at TCU? What happened in TCU game? I didn't see it. Who did they play today?
Right. 9-1. 9 handicappers on Gonzaga. So that was a big loser for the Picks and Parlays network today. Big loser.
I had the Zags at 4.5.
I mean, everybody did. There was only one. I played, like I said, I did play TCU in a teaser, and I did live play TCU at I had it at 1.5, and then I got it again when they were down like 7. I got it at 6.5 or something like that. So I cashed some bets there, but it was a lot. Uncle Lenny's dance party.
Yeah, Uncle Lenny's dance party is great.
It's got to say something betting. We've got to be able to be searched for. So, so we'll probably, like I said, make a contest where people can give their answers and then vote on it, and then then we'll pass it to the powers that be. Second line trap in hockey. Yes.
I don't mind the Uncle Lenny's dance party. I think that's pretty good.
Pretty funny. Pretty funny. Yeah, so we got a lot of new things coming down the pike. Like I said, Picks and Parlays. Go to the App Store, download the Picks and Parlays app. It's kind of raw at this point. It just has a few features. It has you can get my best bets if you pay for them. You can get one of the VIP plays that I give out every day, and you can get the video every day. Got odds that are coming down the pike. We're also going to be able to get the Mirrors Minute on there, and then we'll be doing more. We'll just continue to add on to it. So it's the people that have built apps before, real big pain in the ass.
Back alley bets.
Back alley. Yeah. All right, Higgs. I hope our next week's better for us at the March Madness.
I can't lose any worse than the way I've been losing with these. The Gonzaga was the icing on the cake for a Sunday night heading into Monday.
When I lost to College Charleston the first day and they fouled with like that 0.7 and they did not hit a half-court shot to get me the back door and lose by half, I said, this might be like a bad omen,
Yeah.
Like, you want to be on, like, early in the tournament, you want to be on those sides of the lucky ones so that it just kind of gets your head right. Because eventually it just messes with your head. Then you just start like, that's why I try to handicap the first 2 days of the tournament before any games happen. So that way I'm not wishy-washy. The problem is you obviously can't pick the second round games. So then it kind of snowballs and, it's just not been good.
I know. I'm there. That's my last month has been like those games. Terrible.
So you're going to be on 1 o'clock with me, right?
Today? No, not tomorrow. It's Wednesday. I'm not on tomorrow's show.
All right. I don't know who's on tomorrow. Somebody's on with me tomorrow. So.
Yeah, no. Usually I'm on Mondays and Wednesdays, but I don't know.
Well, I think he moved somebody from Monday because I was like, I need to be on to kind of explain, what's going on. And
yeah, it's you and Terry.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of sports to talk about.
I was gonna say there are a couple. I'm sure there's
CBI games. There's a CBI games which we'll talk about probably, and then the NBA, and then Terry will do the NHL. So, but yeah, tomorrow's more about trying to what do they say, like turn the page, and that's what we're doing.
Let everybody know what's coming up forward. Although Lenny said it's going to be more of a like a free flowing show. It's not really kind of set. You're just going to talk about games and that's it. Right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like we did in the Power Hour, but like we're also going to mix in the contest as well. That we always, some people seem to like that. So who knows? If people stop following the contest, we won't do them. Like it's I don't need to spend the money if people don't like them.
Yeah,
I don't mind spending the money. I like giving out all the Picks and Parlays gear. I have vet win repeat hoodies, and
people love the swag, bro.
People usually like it, so they usually do contests. But if people just if your girlfriend doesn't like ice cream, you quit taking her to the ice cream shop. So take her to the sushi, whatever she likes.
What do you mean? If your girl doesn't like ice cream, get rid of her. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, if she didn't, you would change your ways. So, but I do still have the lucky hole punch. So we might be having to break the lucky hole punch out more often this week, because last week it's ugly.
The lucky hole punch.
I still can't believe I lost some of these games.
I mean, it would have been nice.
Like, I don't care if I lose. I mean, I do care. Don't get me wrong, because I'm betting these games too. It's when you think you did it right, and then the point guard goes out with 16 minutes to go in the game tied. You're not going to win. Like,
you're in trouble.
Like, I want to be on the one side of like that the guy goes down and it's on my favor. I didn't get one of those in the tournament.
Yeah, that's never on my side.
Yeah, it was three of them in this tournament. The Kansas guy.
Yep.
The San Diego State. Who did San Diego State to play the first round?
Charleston.
No, that one I just lost with that last foul. It wasn't that one. It was the other. Oh, St. Mary's. Who did St. Mary's play? VCU.
Yeah, VCU guy.
His point guard down. He went down. He didn't play the whole second. He came in for 2 minutes and wasn't effective the whole second half. That could, like, VCU. I think if they won that game, I thought they could have won the and got to the Sweet 16, because St. Mary's was a very good defensive team, but they were very limited. They didn't have like they had small guards, and small guards you can eventually put size on them.
VCU UConn's not a 20-point, not a blowout like that. No way. Because
VCU's guard could, if he was healthy, could score and keep you in it. St. Mary's just didn't have that, and they probably never will. To be very honest, they just don't. You're not getting a big time recruit at St. Mary's. I mean,
getting a bunch of Australian guys.
Right. I mean, you get Patty Mills, great guys that can spot up and shoot in the pros, but you got to be able to score over top of people eventually when the shot clock runs down. So, all right, guys. Higgs, thanks for having me.
You got it.
All right, we'll talk again. Maybe we should line up Wednesday night and do the Sweet 16 games again, kind of like
We'll do them earlier. We don't do them at midnight. We'll do them like 9 o'clock or something, a little earlier.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'll probably have more of a showing.
Right. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Excellent. Wednesday, you heard it. We'll be here Wednesday. Take it easy, Craig.
All right. Bye.
So another Sweet 16 on Wednesday. That'll be probably like 9 p.m. or Eastern time then. Not going to roll through all of the picks for Dave. Half-court shot. Terrible. I had it. Bad. Ricky says, wife likes money. I don't want to roll. We have so many comments here, but I'm not going to run through them all. We covered all the games. If you stuck around, I know there's only a handful of people watching the whole thing for an hour and a half. It is what it is. We covered them all. We talked about them all. Back tomorrow. I'll be here for Midday Money, and then we'll roll into the new show. Winning Wagers. I like the Winning Wager name. What do you think? Right? Winning Wagers better than Betting Time? Betting Time? Winning Wagers. Vote for Winning Wagers. I'm going to have to come up with 900 burner accounts to get Winning Wagers going. Good night, everybody.